So we had a Minecraft theme opening to start this week's AEW Dynamite, because a brand new Minecraft movie is coming out, so I presume AEW has done a deal. So we know the bottom line here, somebody booked the llama in the match. Also, my friends, I want to ups and downs, the only wrestling review show you need with me, Simon Miller, content creator, professional wrestler, and bald idiot. And I believe that's what the Triforce was built on. Let's up those downs. We then started with some apparent controversy because it was Kenny Omega taking on Blake Christian. And yep, this has just popped up on social media over the last few days, and people are like, well, I don't understand why this is happening. Now, AEW on Dynamite did show you a video of Blake Christian telling you how great he's been on Ring of Honor. And they released another one in the hours before Dynamite that was picking up this match, and it essentially went, Kenny Omega, we love Kenny Omega. Somebody needs to marry Kenny Omega. Blake Christian, look, there's Kenny Omega. It made me laugh. And sure, look, yes, getting a bit more meat on the bone is always going to be good, and we're actually going to talk about that later. But at this stage, I don't really think anyone can be too surprised, because AEW has quite literally been doing this for years. They just like booking matches here and there, and look, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. The only way to find out is to sit down and watch it. And listen, once again, I am a story guy. I like stories up to 2-9. But AEW is gonna AEW. So to moan about it or again be like, I can't believe this is happening, well, it feels like wasted air. Omega also totally wrecked this guy. I mean, I've seen worse ideas. I suppose you can find a slight criticism there too, because Blake is great, but you know that famous old-fashioned wrestling phrase, it's not your night, kid. Essentially, Kenny kneed him in the face, he hit the V trigger, he got the one-winged angel, and Blake Christian kicked out. Of course he didn't. Imagine he had, the world would have melted down. 1, 2, 3. Really, this was just a way to tell you that Kenny is the best bout machine, because he started to cut a promo right after this, and he was all like, Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Ricochet, you ain't got nothing on me, and I'm gonna whoop your ass at the pay-per-view. Given that he had mentioned Speedball's name as well, he had gone through the wrestling rule book and found note 14.8. If somebody says your name, you go to the ring, and here came Mike. Now, Bailey admitted that he basically looks up to Kenny Omega, and he is a hero, but he's not here to be a goober, so come Dynasty, he is going to beat the best bout machine and become the international champion, and amazingly, these fans booed, you can't mess with Ken. He also actually said that he was going to kick Omega's head clean off his shoulders. I was like, dude, you can just beat the guy. When Ricochet appeared on the big screen, and honestly, I love this man. He's such a wonderful dickhead. Turns out he was nowhere near the arena either, but he had an excuse. He was getting married, and he was all like in a nice suit and stuff, so congratulations to Ricochet. None of this matters though, because when he does get to the pay-per-view, not only is he going to leave with the title, but he's going to leave with the girl. And I was like, Ricky, man, unless you're turning up to Dynasty with your brand new wife, I don't think she's gonna be there. Omega then started talking about this not making friends or something like that, but he was doing his, oh man, I'm laid back, Kenny Omega, and you just can't help but warm to him when once again he made it clear, ain't nobody taking this belt from me. What he was saying though is that even though Ricochet is an asshole, whereas Mike Bailey's a good guy, they're all just stepping stones, because he is going to climb that AEW ladder. So I really liked all of this, because you did get a Kenny Omega match, and given what he went through the last year, I can never get too mad at it, but also it made me go, you know what, I want to see this triple threat match at the pay-per-view. Now, I don't think there's any way that Kenny Omega can lose, but we do have a couple of weeks to plant the seeds. Ultimately, though, I enjoyed it. If I enjoyed something, let's gang it up. We then got footage of Bandito getting his mask back on Collision. When we cut to the learning tree, they are not happy at all. Now, I kind of felt like we are using this to lean into the fact they could break up, because Jericho was like, listen, Big Bill and Brian Keith, have you actually been educated in anything? Maybe you don't deserve to hang out with me anymore, so take those teachings and go and do something good. Now they did walk off, and this is when Chris looked into the cameras like, Bandito, now I want to take your mask. So here's the deal. At Dynasty, it's you versus me, title versus mask. So I tell you this, if Bandito doesn't win this match, that would be one of the stupidest things ever. His mask is really cool, and he just came back to AEW. You don't need to do it. When we kind of wrapped up a storyline, or maybe lit a fire underneath it, because here came MJF. Now he insulted Minnesota because they were in Minnesota, as he said to MVP, you should come to the ring. And MVP is a very nice guy, because he did. Now he did admit that he's worried about this Hurt Syndicate business, because of course, he promised to never do anything like this again after Adam Cole screwed him over. That's when he realized, Vuk doesn't care about friends, he is all about business. So let me sign on the dotted line. I want to go and hurt some people. Hot damn. And Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin then interrupted, and Shelton got a massive pop given where we were. And Bob got in Maxwell's face. He asked for the business card, which is essentially the Willy Wonka golden ticket, and he ripped it up. And the whole time he was looking at MVP going, dude, what are you doing? Lashley then also got in Maxwell's face and did that fist thing. That was a little bit weird. It looked like he was posing for a photo op. MJF then turned to MVP, and the conversation of people that have 3 letters, 4 names was trying to be like, what is wrong with your boy? And listen, all of this was deliberately done to make you go, I am intrigued here, but I don't know what's gonna happen. MVP eventually had to hold Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley back. So if I were have to hazard a guess, it kind of feels like at the very least we are gonna do Bob versus Max. I did not have that one on my bingo card. I am totally baffled as to why MVP and his boys hadn't had a conversation in the weeks between all of this, because it has been going on for, 14 days. But again, if I do wake up in the morning and I know I have an AEW show later on, and my brain says to me, well, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in that story, once again, you probably ticked the correct box. If it does get to Bobby Lashley versus MJF as well, it's La La Man. Whoever thought that would happen? Now, I did have a bit of a conniption here, because I was like, oh man, we're going to forget about the AEW tag team titles. When MJF left, and out came Big Bill and Brian Keith, and they started talking about the tag team titles. Yes. And that was because they don't want to join this therapy session, and instead they do want to go after the gold. And the only problem with this is that Big Bill kept firing off insults at MVP. That dude just has verbal bulletproof armor on. It was like ping, choo, ping, choo. He kept firing back. And listen, if you were going to award a winner here, it would absolutely be MVP. Bill tried, because he said that MVP was nothing more than the Hurt Syndicate's bitch, but that didn't work. Although he did have justification here. The reason he feels like he's owed a tag team title shot is because when he lost those belts with his last partner, they never got a rematch. Of course, his last partner was Ricky Starks, who now doesn't exist anymore. MVP then won all this again, because he was like, well, maybe you should go win some other matches before you come here to talk to us about all this. So you can see what we're doing here, and we are planting some seeds. But yes, in terms of an entire segment, in order to get the single stuff over, but also to remind you we do have tag team gold, I actually thought we did a pretty good job here, especially because at one point I was super worried. Up. There is a down though, because the Murder Monsters, whatever the flub Lance Archer and Brian Cage are called, well, they just lost to the Outrunners and decided, you know what, who cares about the AEW tag team titles. I know they've been doing some stuff on Collision, but I kind of feel like we need to make a bigger deal about it, and I know we can get back to this whenever, but I am giving it a down. Sometimes the stories are too much like this, or the strangest roller coaster snake you've ever seen in your life. I also did love the fact that Shelton Benjamin was so over, because that guy deserves his flowers. When Toni, Storm, and Thunder Rosa maybe won the evening. I shout out to Thunder too, because she was fighting in the UK just down the road from me on Tuesday night, and then she was performing on Dynamite, which is a hell of a schedule. And yeah, she was indeed going to team up with Tyler's Toni Storm. Renee Paquette was between these two trying to hold on for dear life. Because Thunder was like, hey, remember that last time we teamed up and you were horrible to me? Toni was like, yes, nothing has changed since then. And Rose was like, dude, everything has changed. I mean, now you've got a butler. Thunder was then going to reveal the name of their team as Thunderstorm, when Toni cut her off and said, nope, we're called Thunder Tits. And again, Renee's face was just going crazy here. This was an absolute delight because it's wrestlers having fun. I mean, Cyndi Lauper told us all about that. When we got to random match number 2, which was Brody King versus Carl Fletcher, now listen, let's get it out the way, right away, which is a stupid sentence. These two dudes are hell of a talented. The thing is, though, this one I do get the criticism for, because we are looking at the hierarchy of AEW. They are right up there, maybe knocking on the main event scene, so really, we should have taken our time here and given a bit more story, because then the winner of this could have gone on to something even bigger. And also, while I understand the loss, Brody King is just getting defeated way too many times, so when you do throw that into a nice, neat little package, it's getting it down. But again, it was Carl Fletcher and Brody King. If you have 10 minutes today, you have to watch it. These two guys rule. Fletcher used speed to begin with here, although then he got obsessed with posing, which was a terrible idea, because Brody essentially went, rah! He used all his MP. My gosh, he was throwing this guy around. Carl then decided, you know what, the best way I can fight back is with a chop, which again was the stupidest idea in the world, and he got hurled to the outside. And Fletcher thought he had got away when he used Al in the announce table when he got back in the ring and just got absolutely smashed by the Boss Man Slam. And this is when I realized I could watch these two dudes fight forever, or for the allocated time they've been awarded on this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Brody King didn't even hit a dive, so it is mad in 2025, although sadly for him, when he went to do his, oh, I'm going to crush you in the corner using Barry Barricade, Carl was like, well, actually, I know another wrestling ringside friend, Rita the Ring Post. Damn it, it worked. He then got a dive of his own, and the character work was so Hicks. He was like, referee, would you get to 10? And then we can count this mother hubbard out. And he was right about that too, because Brody shrugged it off. And this exploder, he gave poor Carl Fletcher into the corner. I was a little bit worried he was dead. Carl eventually dodged the Gonzo bomb and somehow did hit a tombstone for a 1-2-ooh, which was absolutely perplexing. When eventually, of course, out came Mark Davis, as I suppose we got a mini Aussie Open reunion. And I still cannot figure out what his intentions are. Sometimes he's happy to be in the Don Callis family and sometimes he's not. But basically, he cast distraction. Brody King didn't know what was going on, but we still came up with a mad finish because Carl Fletcher hit the brainbuster into the turnbuckle on Brody King. So I don't know what happened to Brody King here. It was like he was light as a feather, but he's also an absolute monster. But it was a 1-2-3. This was an absolutely brilliant fight. Aussie Open then started to whoop his ass. Then this got really good because Powerhouse Hobbs came to make the save. Then there was a bunch of useless wrestling security guards that got killed. One of which I think was Von Wagner, so he's a hero. And even though we were told, oh my gosh, Mark Davis and Hobbs are meant to fight later, we then just changed the schedule and they were going to fight now. So we went right into that. But if we do get there, Fletcher versus Brody's getting up. All this continued though, because then it was Power Hobbs versus Marky Mark. Brilliant. The bell did eventually sound, even though there was so much chaos here, as we got big men slapping man meat. And actually, this didn't go that long, but for some reason, that just made it more effective. And yes, look, towards the end, there was some smashing on a spine buster, but they're humans, for goodness sake. They're allowed to make mistakes. What they did here is they hit reset, they started the game again. Powerhouse Hobbs got his spine buster 1-2-3. Now listen, I've zoomed through this, but it kind of was that fast. That's why it made me go, damn, William, you're great. So it was just super fun. And who doesn't like super fun? Nobody. Well, apart from that one guy. Lexi there was there with the patriarchy, but Christian Cage wasn't around. And I actually thought this was a good way to talk about what had happened last week. Because he was all like, oh, hi, Nick Wayne. Why did you do what you do? And he looked at Kip Sabian, he looked at Mother Wayne. He was like, because I understand how to execute plans, unlike a certain someone. Now, apparently Christian is going to be on the show next week. So I shall talk to him then. And I was like, I wonder if Christian wasn't on the show this week. Because we had Blake Christian. And as we know, we wrestling fans are stupid. How would we ever tell them apart? So I quite like this because, again, it did kind of make you raise an eyebrow because Nick Wayne did get involved in that match. And I think we may be about to see a babyface turn, but we'll get there. Renee Paquette then went and found Hangman Adam Page and wanted to talk about the Owen Hart Cup. When Swerve Strickland barged in and was like, I heard what you were saying about me. I watched the show. And Hangman's like, I don't care about you, you stupid bitch. And I got excited because honestly, if these two do meet in the main event of All In for the World Championship, well, they've got a forever feud, man. And I'm going to do the dance of joy. And they make me feel sick because they do terrifying, horrible things, but in terms of match quality, they never miss. Eventually it was Prince Nana that dragged him away because he understands we need to be focused on that world title when we get back to what we were just talking about. I think Dynamite was structured very well this week. We were doing a sit-down with Rated FTR. Now, Tony Schiavone made it very clear that without Adam Copeland, who knows where Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood would be. When Dax leaned in and he said, listen, I just want to apologize for what I did do last week. You know me, and I'm an emotional fish. I let my emotions get the better of me. Thing is, though, they're desperate to be the AEW Tag Team Champions again, and we've just dedicated everything to Adam becoming the world title, and that didn't work out. Just realised I said becoming the world title. Imagine that, you tune in, Adam Copeland is stuck there as a belt. But listen, Copeland was like, what are you talking about? That's not what happened. Don't forget the Death Riders tried to kill you when they put bags over your head. So I was just trying to assist. And I was like, that did actually happen. Cash Wheeler then really went in here because he's like, listen, we have been buddies for ages. And there was a time when I was sleeping in my car. And do you know who gave me house and board? It was Mr. Copeland. So I will love him forever. I think Dax then remembered all of this, so once again he did apologize to Adam as well, as he reiterated that I still really would like to be an AEW Tag Team Champion. When Cash was like, nah man, we need to think differently here. We do have 3 of us, and there are trios championships in AEW, so maybe we should go after them instead. And it was Cope that went, yes Cash, I agree with you. And the look on poor Harwood's face, I think he feels a little bit usurped. Copeland then made it very clear as he challenged the Death Riders for Dynasty. And here's the two things I want to happen. Obviously, they're not going to win these belts, but I do need the Trios Championships to start feeling more important. And yes, Dax Harwood is definitely going to turn heel. And given that he is buddy-buddy with Cash, he's probably going to do it too. That all ties in, though, to what we were talking about earlier, Christian Cage. Maybe we are going to get to All In, and it will be Christian and Adam Copeland taking on FTR. And do you know how much I need that in my life? Well, I don't need it, otherwise that would be a weird thing. But do I want it a lot? Yes. The best part was the ending, though. Because Dax Harwood was like, top guys out, and Adam Copeland was like, nah, man, it's rated FTR out. And this is like when you try and hang up with your partner, you're like, you said bye, you said bye. Then one of you hangs up, and you're like, how dare you? So I thought this was very well done, and listen, even though it is obvious, there's nothing wrong with being obvious, because now I do want to see FTR go, ha ha, and kick Adam Copeland right in the balls, when out comes old friend Christian. I mean, sometimes I just need the warm and fuzzy tum-tum stuff. Give it in now. When Swerve Strickland came to the ring and he wanted to call out Jon Moxley, and I can sell this to you in headline form, these two are absolutely brilliant together. Now Swerve made sure to make it clear he wanted Jon and none of the Death Riders because he is done with all of them. And people keep saying, Swerve, Swerve, why aren't you helping with this? And now he's realized, yeah, I should, because that Jonathan Moxley is a dickhead. Also, what the flub happened to you, Jon? Because at one point you were everything about this company. You were revered and you were a Reels World Champion, but then you started hanging out with the Riders of Death, and essentially you hide behind them. Yours has the nerve to say that nobody wants to be the AEW World Champion when you don't have the balls to be a proper champion yourself. Swerve also knows deep down Moxie is aware of this, which is why he is acting out. When he said, hey Jon, how's your back? That made me giggle. I mean, the only answer is terrible. Last week he had a spike put in. Antonio Castagnoli then appeared from nowhere, acted like he was going to kill Prince Nana, but Jon was like, nah, dude, we're not doing this right now, because he wanted to verbally respond to what Swerve had just said. He really got into this idea, though, that Strickland pretends to know who he is, but he has no clue, and that's exactly when he's going to show up at Dynasty. So it all comes down to how far Swerve is willing to go when it comes to pain, because are you going to fight on, or are you going to look for a way out? That's a bit like Jon. Have you not watched some of his matches? He's definitely going to fight on. Moxie then started talking about the fact that the businesses are run by billionaires and Hollywood talent agencies. I have no idea what he was going on about, but his delivery is so good that it worked. But the idea behind it is that he does see Swerve Strickland in a different light. He does think he could be the future of this industry, but that doesn't mean he's going to get a handout. So once again, at the pay-per-view, you better show me what you're made of. I mean, apparently you are the most dangerous man in AEW, so now is the time. When Marina Shafir came out with a crowbar, and Willow Nightingale must be Batman, because she came out with a pipe. And these are all very normal things that happen every day. It didn't allow Strickland to go off one final time, though, because he was like, listen, Jonathan, I'm smarter than you, because while you may bleed pints, I bleed gallons. Or buckets, he said buckets. But also, when you fight Texas death matches, I go and win Texas death matches. So essentially, Strickland is leading this era. That was a bit like, given recent conversations, yep, this guy is worth every penny. The Death Riders were then circling around, but once again, Moxie said, now we're not going to do this here, when Marina lost her mind, and she tripped Willow Nightingale, who fell into the ring apron, so these two guys started to fight. There also been at one point when it had calmed down, Moxie and Nightingale went face to face, but otherwise, this was kind of treated like a boiling point that was about to go, but in the meantime, we're going to keep it cool, and it did a fantastic job, because by the end of it, I want to see Moxie versus Swerve. I also think Swerve should become the brand new AEW World Champion. The issue is, though, they have such good chemistry together, you could make an argument that maybe we should do at least 2 matches, and Jon Moxley does retain in the first one, because yes, there was just a coming together here, and the way they talk to each other, it made me go, oh my gosh, this title is important. That's the entire point. So I'm absolutely going to give this an up, and again, Swerve Strickland is just a dude man. Don't know what a dude man is. But if it was a comic book character, you'd probably read the strip. And then it turned out that for some reason Shibata had become a cameraman and he was filming the ops. And Samoa Joe was like, listen to me, Hook, my dear boy. When you choked out Max Caster on the Collision, why did you hold that choke in for a while? Hook was like, that guy's an idiot and it was fun. We then saw Max himself talking to Top Flight. This was great, because he was trying to teach them that stupid catchphrase that he's got, and the crowd have started to chant it. I totally love it. I think that story is wonderful. When Samoa Joe did sneak up behind him, he choked him out when he turned to Hook and said, you're right, that was fun. The good guys then all shook hands. I thought this was hilarious. They just tried to kill a guy. When Hook looked into the camera, and I think he said, till the death. That was a little bit like the ending of a Chuck Norris movie. But once again, there is something with the Ops, and I hope we do reignite those trios titles and we throw them right into the mix. When Jay White finally did something, which made me go, hang on, why did Jay White just totally start to ignore the Death Rider stuff and the Adam Copeland stuff? It's got to get it down. He is going to enter the Owen Hart Cup though, and he wants to do way better than last year when he did get screwed. But in the meantime, he is going to freeform the Collision Cowboys, who are now having open challenge on Saturday. And that also made me go, oh yeah, the Guns came back to TV, and then they just fell into the Phantom Zone. That is something that AEW probably does have to stop doing. When it was Alex Finley and Devo Knight taking on Top Flight, so you could see what was going to happen here. And listen, there were some good takeaways. But before we do get to that, I am going to throw it down in there. And that's only because while Darius and Dante have been super active on Collision, when it comes to the AEW tag team scene, we just need to somehow increase it and get it back to where it was. Like, our champions are awesome, but when it comes to the challengers, well, listen, you did have the Learning Tree watching on here, and Action Andretti and Leo Rush were here too, but we need more. We just do, and it's a down. The best part was, though, even though this was a squash match, Top Flight are from Minnesota, so they just got a massive reaction, and they wrecked these dudes. It actually made me feel quite happy. I'm a very strange guy. So we just need more teams that are super duper over and make you go, oh my gosh, they could win those belts. But in terms of something we saw on this night, which again, just made me pleased, I do have to give it an up. The fans popped so big. We did a Will Ospreay video promising us that he is going to be the leader of the next generation. It wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year, he's the AEW World Champion. I also like to think the fact he wasn't on the show means he's at home playing the new Assassin's Creed. When we got Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe, trust me, my friends, go and watch it. Now, the winner was never in doubt, but Briscoe just ran at Takeshita to start with and booted him right in the face when he gave him a rolling DVD. That was a terrible idea, because he then went to the top, and the superplex after that. It just meant they could smack each other around when Takeshita hit this death DDT. So guess what Mark Briscoe did back to him? He bit him. I mean, why not? Briscoe then went for the froggy bow, but Takeshita just murdered him with this German suplex. These two had absolutely great chemistry. They should be teaching a science class. I mean, I think half of their strikes were just landing properly, but it was utterly compelling. They then traded exploders, because of course they did, when Takeshita hit his big knee for the 1-2-0. When Mark came back with the Jade Driller, and honestly, they actually made me think that Mark Briscoe was gonna win. Takeshita got his foot on the ropes, the 2.999. I felt like an idiot, but I was also having a good time. Briscoe was then going to do it again, but Takeshita just wiggled out of it when he hit the big knee, and he hit his Raging Fire, which still sounds like a Zelda move, and he got the 1-2-3. And isn't it pleasant that somebody is winning matches with a Falcon Arrow? You damn right it is, but I'm giving it an up. This is when AEW's kind of not really random matchmaking totally works. I know they do have some history together. I could have watched this till the cows come home. 6.25 stars in the Tokyo Dome. The Death Riders then cut a promo and said, fine, rated FTR, we will take you on the pay-per-view. So now that match is done. When Alicia and Tout found the Hurt Syndicate, she was like, why did you mug off MJF? Now Lashley ignored that, and apparently these people do not talk unless a camera is on them. Because he was like, oh, hi, MVP, what is going on with MJF? MVP was like, listen, we've talked about a fourth member for ages. It should be that guy. Now, I think Bobby said the issue there is that Maxwell is too grimy. I don't know what that means, but MVP was like, you know what, I like a bit of grime. Ultimately, though, he's happy to sit down and talk about this, but for now, we do have to focus on the tag team titles, because the Learning Tree is circling, and we got to keep these belts. So I have no idea where this is going, but if AEW does stick the landing, well, this could be super intriguing. And again, Shelton versus MJF, or Bobby versus MJF, well, I never thought I'd see the day. When we got a main event that I was not expecting, but it was Thunder Tits taking on Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, and I just thought this was some good old-fashioned booking. Because essentially, Thunder and Toni ran at Megan Bayne. She was like, you can't beat me. She was right, nothing was working. To use insider terms, she was no-selling. Intentionally. Eventually, Penelope Ford got in there too, and actually she was able to whack around Thunder Rosa for a while, when Thunder Tits realized, oh my gosh, if we push our fists together, we can do some double team moves. So they did. Now it didn't help at all, because Thunder got her ass whipped, but eventually got the tag to Toni Storm, as did Megan Bayne. So finally these two were together, but it was the same old story. No matter what the Timeless One did, Megan, had some kind of protective shield. Even when Toni was able to clothesline her to the floor, Megan just grabbed her foot and dragged her out there. To the point Storm kind of had to dodge. Megan went into Simba the Steel Steps, so Toni hit her with a tornado DDT. But the problem was Penelope Ford was then ready and she took out Toni Storm with a cutter. So Thunder Rosa was like, well, I'm going to take you out with the DVD. When Megan Bayne was back and she F5'd Thunder, or as she calls it, Fate's Descent. And I'm sorry, don't come in my house and tell me that's not a Final Fantasy special. It is. Toni took advantage of that though because she hit the sweet cheek music. Once again, Megan was like, nah man, that ain't gonna do nothing to me. When she hit the Fate's Descent and she pinned timeless Toni Storm. And my gosh, that's the AEW Women's Champion. Good guys that acted like they couldn't believe this had happened. It's a bit like watching an infomercial and someone being like, oh my gosh, I can't get this dirt off my car. And someone else is like, man, you need to use Cleano wipes. And people are stunned that it does work. And listen, once again, this was essentially 1980s booking, but every now and then what's old can become new again. I thought this was super duper effective. I really do hope that Megan and Penelope can cut a promo next week and talk about what their intentions are. But I am giving this an up. Even though it was a little bit wibbly wobbly, I now want to see Toni Storm versus Megan Bayne. I don't think Megan is going to win, but she's benefiting from all of this. And sometimes that should be the aim. It's getting it up. Which brought us to the end of AEW Dynamite, and I tell you, I think AEW benefits from having these closer pay-per-views because they're just so locked in and focused. And look at the 2 World Championship match. I want to see them up. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about AEW. Like the video, share the video and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is Ups and Downs for Monday Night Raw. And we did it live from outside the Hydro in Glasgow. And I had the best time. I think some of it is quite amusing too. So you should check it out. But otherwise, I'll see you soon.